there's a few that stick out. One, when we were starting with Coffee Sender, we got a cease and desist from Starbucks. And so that was like an oh crap moment where we're like, well, if we can't send Starbucks, like what's the point? So we flew up to Seattle, talked to them in person. They're like, oh, this is way cooler. We didn't even know. We just had some lawyer on payroll that like sends out cease and desists. Like, let's partner up. And so that was a really cool moment. We could have given up then and just been like, it's over, but we fought through it.
Welcome to the Industrial Strength Marketing Show. Hi, I'm James Soto. I'm the founder and CEO of Industrial Strength Marketing Brands. We are here to help you make marketing the strength of your industrial business. I am so pleased to have Kris Rudeegraap here with Sendoso. He's a founder, he's a leader, and we're going to get into his story. And we want to just give you an opportunity to get to know him today so you can learn about his career, his insights, and marketing that makes an impact. Welcome to the show, Kris.
Thank you so much for having me, James. I'm excited to be here and excited to chat with you and share my thoughts, feedback, and story with the audience.
Oh my goodness, I am really excited. So we've had a series of MarTech leaders on the show. We've had, John Miller from Demandbase, and we've had the head of engineering.com, which has a really great marketplace for e-learning, and folks from HubSpot, Nicholas Holland, the VP of product at HubSpot, and so many others. And Kris, when we met at B2B MX, I was very intrigued. And just to kind of set the the bar here for our audience, I really thought this would be a great episode to feature you here because we have an audience of folks that have come from the physical, have come from the trade events, who have come from the way of marketing and selling that it's really, in person and people first, and those things have changed. So we're going to talk a little bit about our market, our audience, and why I think Sendoso as our platform could be fantastic for them. But so that we can kind of set the mood for the audience, just tell us a little bit about yourself and Sendoso. And just so you know, audience, we will have a point where Kris will unapologetically talk about their product and what they do. That's what we keep hearing from you, that you like, yeah, tell us the product. You have them here. We want to know everything about it. So Kris, just let us get to know you a little bit and give us the 101 on Sendoso.
Perfect. So I'll give you a little bit more about my founding story, and I think that sets this kind of the tone and the stage for why I started Sendoso. I started Sendoso about 5 years ago. Prior to that, I spent about 10 years in software sales myself in San Francisco. And while I was in sales, I saw a couple of things happen in front of me. One was just the overwhelming number of emails that I was sending, meaning my prospects were getting, quote unquote, spammed. And there's just a lot of digital noise out there. And it didn't feel as personal. And so I was kind of getting creative, as I think a lot of salespeople do, is like, how do you break through that noise? And how do you really connect with prospects in a more human way? And I found myself writing handwritten notes and mailing them out. I found myself going into our swag closet at the time and grabbing stuff, and sending it out. I found myself going on Amazon and finding like a quirky gift based on a conversation with a prospect and sending that out. And it all worked well. It was just manual, time consuming, hard to track, expense report. And I just wanted to do more of it. And so I looked online to see, hey, was there a solution that allowed me to like send physical stuff out in my sales process? And there really wasn't anything out there. So I asked a bunch of colleagues and sales friends and industry experts, and got a lot of people like, hey, I'd use that. And so that was part of my inspiration of, me forward seeing the future, that this was going to be more part of people's kind of sales, marketing, customer tech stack, but also just the pain point I experienced and the solution that I needed. And so that got me to start Sendoso. And we are a sending platform that helps other companies send out direct mail, corporate gifts, swag, handwritten notes, personalized gifts, you name it, we can send it. And we're a mix of a software platform that helps you orchestrate all of this, have teams with budgets, integrations into your tech stack. We're a marketplace of all the different things you could send in one all-in-one platform. And then we have logistics and fulfillment to actually help get these things from A to B. And so that's what makes up Sendoso.
And just to cover that when he says it's true, This is a real thing, and especially today with supply chain, as we think
Yep.
about manufacturers and industrial distribution and services companies, and that critical interdependence. What is the scale of that supply chain? What is the area the addressable market you're serving right now geographically?
Yeah, so geographically, we service the world. We have warehouse fulfillment centers ourselves and partner 3PLs, a few in the US and Canada, the UK, the European Union, and Australia. So we're servicing mostly all regions. From a company perspective, we're about 700 employees now. We've raised about 160 million or so in funding. And we have tens of thousands of users sending millions of items. So a pretty robust supply chain that we've really set up over the years.
And founded what year?
2016 is when the idea happened. 2017 is when we really launched. And I'd say 2018 is really when we raised funding and went to market in a more kind of faster approach.
Wow.
A lot has happened in the last few years, to say the least.
So we're gonna just pause here, everybody. Kris, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I am loving it. So I find so much enthusiasm for my team. I find so much just happiness in seeing our customers successful, and so yeah, I couldn't ask for a better thing.
Oh man, and what's better than doing something you love and getting to see it, a vision turn into reality, right?
Exactly.
And that's just intoxicating. And so I'll take us back a little bit. So I had the chance to meet Kris at the B2B Marketing Exchange in Scottsdale, Arizona, a few months back, and it was interesting in that you saw a strong exhibition of marketing technology related providers, data. Everything from data analytics, experiential, and there was Sendoso. And if you'll know Sendoso if you see them out in the wild, because it's the coolest little deal. It's all the coolest swag. It's all about the physical experience. So you just feel like it's like you're a kid in a candy bar. So, and I was fortunate enough to be there with my team, in terms of industrial, and we were evaluating the technologies in terms of who we want to partner with, what are the right tech stacks, where can we deliver client value ultimately in helping these iconic industrial brands leverage things like account-based marketing and these great digital experiences, increasingly machine assisted and data assisted. And there we saw Sendoso. And I'm just hanging out, my team, they dive into the deep stuff. I may really work more on the partner program level. Like, okay, how do we partner? Is this a good fit?
Yep.
And you're just like hanging out, man. You're just hanging out, just in the side back. You're just looking, you just saw that like Papa Bear proud, just like, chill. Like, you're at a phase now where it's not like survival, or, payroll this week. And I just kind of said, who's that cat? And I'm just like hanging out, watching my team do its thing, and they're checking you guys out. And then you were hanging out. I was like, hey man, what's up? And we just started talking.
Yeah.
And it just seemed to me, and I don't know if this was a moment for you, but I've seen that moment before, where you see someone who's built it, where you just don't know if that's someone part of the team or someone who could have founded it. And I just had that feeling about you, never met. And we just started talking, and it just sounded like you were really excited. I was talking about the manufacturing sector, and we're working with some of the biggest industrial shows this year, like massive, over 2,000 exhibitors. I'm like, man, is there some way we can like connect here? Like, you think there's such an opportunity here in the market? And we just started talking as just guys, and you're sitting there watching your team. And have you, when you look at where you are today, whether it's in a moment like that, and you see this stuff happening, 700 employees, what do you have any of these kind of these moments where you let yourself absorb the success?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm constantly grateful for the success of the company and of myself, and seeing this grow. And I think I'm also just continuing to look forward to the future. And I love interacting with our employees, our customers, our potential customers, our partners. And so while at the show, I think that's one testament where I love getting out there and meeting new people as it relates to this journey. And that is part of the success for me, is that, being there, meeting people. And so I do sit back and, and sometimes, smile when I'm walking, just thinking about it. But, it's a long journey. We're still on this long journey. And so there's no slowing down. And, if I can be at a show and meet another customer, meet another partner, if I can help out in other ways and really inspire our company to do better, then we're going to continue to have success. So,
yeah, that's fantastic. So when you started it around 2016,
yep.
What was it? Was it you and just a vision? Was it you plus your, who's the lieutenant,
Yeah.
How did that start? What was the 0 to first 5 people like? And
yeah, so interesting
like?
story in that I had originally this idea of sending Starbucks cards. That was kind of what I would call like maybe V1. And so it actually first came about by I created a site called coffeesender.com. And so it was validating, and it was a Salesforce app that allowed you to send a Starbucks card. And it was kind of a very simple concept, something that you could easily grasp. And just started working on it in my nights and weekends. Found an engineer actually through Upwork to help build it. And then one of my old sales friends from college, I reconnected with, and he was like, "This is awesome. Like, I want to use this as a salesperson." And so he was like, "Hey, but I'd also be happy to help. How can I help?" And it just so happened that his company was getting acqui-hired at the time. And so he was like, "Hey, I'm kind of a free agent. Can I start selling this?" And we became co-founders at that point. Became like best friends, kind of getting married almost as a co-founder. You got to spend all your time together in the early days. And we just, started to sell it. And I think in the early days, we then listening to customers and then my own experience in sales when I was, sending things out to prospects, kind of had this epiphany where it was a mix of, okay, I can, I've created this site that I can send out Starbucks cards. How can I do everything else? And we just said, hey, let's just keep building this. And we figured out warehousing, and we just, my co-founder and I just like never looked back since. And then we just started hiring amazing people. And I think in the early days, it's like you got to figure out when you should be working on it yourself, when you should be hiring people, and how do you if and when do you want to raise money. And so it was really just but ultimately, I think our biggest advantage was we both had sales backgrounds. So day 0, we were selling this to the world and talking to customers every single day.
So were there any belly of the whale moments there? A lot of founder stories have like an extinction event, or if this doesn't happen, we're going down. And were there any of those moments, or you were just out there selling and just momentum, and
I'd say like as a founder, you have to be like kind of crazy optimistic and insanely forward thinking all the time. But you also, I'd say every founder has a few of these moments, no matter what. If they don't, they're lying to you. But you have to be crazy to get past them and not think that they're showstoppers. They're just speed bumps. But there's a few that stick out. One, and when we were starting with Coffee Sender, we got a cease and desist from Starbucks, and so that was like an oh crap moment where we're like, well, if we can't send Starbucks, like what's the point? So we flew up to Seattle, talked to them in person. They're like, oh, this is way cooler. We didn't even know. We just had some lawyer on payroll that like sends out cease and desists. Like, let's partner up. And so that was a really cool moment. We could have given up then and just been like, it's over, but we fought through it. There was also a moment when we were scaling our warehousing, and that we ran out of space. And we ran out of space like overnight. And so we had to like have a truck full of stuff sit out in the yard overnight. We had to go find a new space over the weekend, and Monday move warehouses because of the physical constraints. And so that could have caused some massive bottlenecks. But we quickly acted and found a new warehouse space and expanded over the weekend. And you could also say COVID was a scenario that could have been a crazy time for us, as it's like, hey, how are you going to send stuff to people's offices? And so we quickly pivoted with this address confirmation feature and helping send things to people's houses. And we actually scaled faster through COVID. But wow. Some could have looked at that as a moment of, oh no, like how do you send stuff to people in a time where everything's shut off? And we use that as a thought leadership forum and a way to help other marketers, sales folks, get better and solve problems that they needed to solve during those trying times. So definitely multiple things to point back to, but definitely ups and downs along the way.
And in a sense that each one of those scenarios actually made you stronger.
Exactly. It made the team come together stronger. It made us think outside the box, and it made us a better company on the other end.
Oh, absolutely. And coming out of COVID, you could think of every excuse or potential threat to your business, and to see, the innovator's mindset. We can if
Yes,
this
exactly.
could this is a problem. It's just a problem. You're always gonna have a problem,
Exactly.
and this
Problem,
is
we
how
just need
you
to solve
solve
the
it.
problem.
And then
Exactly.
you're solving problems and then finding that these are problems that are repeatable problems. So when you have a problem in the market and it's a lot of people have it, or it's a challenge and you overcome it, you've delivered more, customer value at the end of the day. And a founder's journey is not alone. I know you have your co-founder, but
Yeah.
when you think about some of those challenging moments, is there anyone that comes to mind that helped you get through those?
Aside from my co-founder, we have an amazing, advisory board of different mentors. I think it's important for founders and leaders and or anyone to have a sounding board of different mentors and people that they can ask questions to. So that's important. I think that there's also our investors, and then just our executive team. We all come together, and maybe as a CEO, I get credit for a lot of the work that happens behind the scenes, but each and every person at the company plays a part in our success.
Absolutely. It when you look at how you've grown the organization, given you're providing solutions that help people sell better and market better and create better experiences, where did marketing play a role? Where's that playing a role, past and present, in the growth and survival and success of your business? Or like,
Yeah. So
what do you guys do to market, and where's
totally. Yeah.
Sendoso come in?
So I love marketing. I actually was a business marketing major. And so marketing was something that's been close to my heart since day zero. Even though I went into sales early in career, marketing and the creative aspects of marketing has always been something that's intrigues me. So I think a couple of things stand out for me in the early days and still to this day, in that, we're creating a new category. Like, 5 years ago, or when I was in sales, or 6 years ago, when I wanted to use a solution like Sendoso, there wasn't. So we had to kind of create a lot of awareness for that. And so in the early days, marketing was instrumental in, brand awareness. And, we did a lot of event marketing, which was really key to us in the early days, because we got our booth next to another booth that was like, oh, I know them. Oh, who's them? Oh, I want to hear about them. And so there was a lot of investments into brand, into field events, demand gen. So our marketing team really, really played a big part in putting Sendoso on the map. We also invested a lot in kind of our SDR team, which demand, which is kind of an extension, I think, in sometimes of marketing, in terms of kind of outbounding and telling the world, hey, Sendoso exists, you should use it. So I look at them sometimes as an extension of marketing as well. We do a lot of sending, eating our own dog food or drinking our champagne, whatever you want to call it. So that's something we do. And to this day, we still do, marketing is one of my key areas that I spend a lot of time each week working with our marketing team, making sure that we can continue to, drive pipeline and drive awareness for what we're building.
Yeah. And maybe a gift.
And a gift here or there too.
There and there, right? Strategically, in the right place, in the right context, at the right time.
Exactly.
Those are all good tips, and those are absolutely great things that we see. It's interesting to me when you look at the manufacturing sector. It's so focused on, if you can argue that manufacturers, distributors, industrial services companies are not probably the best at social, media marketing, experiential, but they are fantastic at leveraging their business networks.
Yep.
And when you look at a sector with so much tradition, and when you're buying $100,000, $1 million capital, technology, right? Capital equipment technology. It's big stakes. People go to the conferences, they go to the shows to see these things. And there's been that physical experience as a way of marketing. What I find really strange, Kris, is when you go to these conferences, there's so many enabling technologies.
Yep.
You don't see the organizations like yours there who are talking about how do they're trying to figure out how to do these events, how to
Hmm.
create these great experiences. But it really strikes me that there needs to be a really big reset on the thoughts around sales, marketing, how the organizations work together. And we've been fortunate enough to have some great guests and some folks from McKinsey come on board, and they talked about their marketing pulse study, and what that uncovered was, okay, what has happened here over the COVID, right, during the period where you were pivoting and trying to really adjust and suggest features and finding
Yep.
ways to, like, how do you get to someone's house,
Yeah, exactly.
versus their place. And what they're finding is that their studies and data is showing that the way we're marketing and selling is leveling off into these rule of thirds. The first is that we have this personal, in person type
Yep.
interaction, working with a salesperson or an SDR. The second third of the way you start to see the process is the virtual, and you do a virtual communication, contact, and that's obviously driven online. And the third is they want now a self-service part where they just go get it, go do it themselves, and go take care of it. That convenience. And so those rule of thirds, we're finding industrials have to serve and readjust all three. That in person, that hybrid virtual, and that, hey, I want to go do it in self-serve. I want to buy a $200,000 stamping press. Like, that's
Yeah.
happening now. So when you think about that, how have you seen the ways that you have to, approach physical experiences and sending and gifting, whether it's based on intent at account-based
Yep.
marketing or otherwise? How do you see the world shaping up for you in terms of the way you're positioning this to all the different ways that B2B, let's say industrial buyers and sellers, are trying to connect?
Yeah, so it's a great point. So I'd say one trend that relates to those thirds is that, as there was lots more field reps meeting face to face in person prior to COVID, there's a little less of that. And there's even more of like, hey, I can do this through Zoom. So let's keep doing this through Zoom, which seems kind of, advantageous at times based on maybe cost measures, timing. Oh, I get to stay home with the family more frequently, but you still need to figure out how do you build those relationships and inspire human connections, because people buy from people at the end of the day. And so that's where we come in, and we can help with sending things out during that buying experience to really impact that relationship in a positive way so you can win that deal. And I think that's important because you're spending less time face to face, which is an easier way at times to create that relationship strength. So I think that's one way for companies to offset it. Two is when you're going to these events, though, you need a platform that can also help with sending things to these events, or sending follow-up to these events, or driving people to these events. And so I think we help with that as well, in terms of just another aspect of driving people to your booth or after your booth as a follow-up. You also hinted on like people wanting a more self-service experience. And so I think in that experience, it's how else are you going to, again, chime in and build relationships again with that buying experience, while maybe it's changed from like a, hey, take a meeting. Hey, let me give you this solutions consulting, to where, you're giving them some sort of self-service path. But along that journey, can you chime in with like, hey, thanks for signing up. Here's a welcome gift. How are you building rapport? Because you're going to have to let your product build rapport, and you're going to have to kind of pay it forward with prospects at times, because they're not going to be as eager to jump on a phone call with you. So how do you, hey, here's a piece of content on how to use this better, and here's lunch on me through Sendoso, and I'm going to send you a DoorDash gift card. And that's building that positive rapport to make sure that they're, going to buy or going to convert as well.
So that's interesting. So when you think about all the different ways you can send,
Yep.
right? You can send gifts and
Yep.
novelties, but you can send value.
Yeah.
So that's a whole different stage. And obviously then you can also look at behavioral, which is more gamification. So if you're
Yep.
thinking about, so there's a nonlinear, arguably buying process. Multiple stakeholders come involved in the B2B, and certainly industrial buying process, especially industrial.
100%.
There's such interdependency. They can't put the wrong, 100,000 parts
Yeah,
in that vehicle. They got to get that right, because
exactly.
they're in trouble if they don't. So supplier and buyer interdependence is so critical. So making some of these, especially bigger industrial buying decisions takes, one, a lot of time. There's a longer velocity to get it. And there's all of these stakeholders coming in and out. So when you look at what you're sending, is there, can you give some insights into some creative ways folks have been sending? And is it all those things we typically expect? What can you send?
Yeah, so the benefit of our platform is there's a mix of kind of traditional things that you could send, like gift cards, which we make it easier to do. We also offer up more of like the ability to send out like a gift card choice. So you can say, hey, pick from this and this and this and this. So we offer that kind of flexibility. There's also more like on-demand things that are, let's say, not branded, but just gifts like wine and flowers and cupcakes and different things like that. There's also branded items that you want to get something cool and branded. There's virtual experiences like, hey, I want to have a wine tasting experience and I'm going to send some wine and there's going to be like a sommelier. And then there's also just one-off, single personalized gifts. Like maybe I know you're a New York Yankees fan and I want to send you some Yankees swag, or I know you play golf and so I want to send you some golf balls. And so there's kind of a myriad of that. And we will help along that whole spectrum of saying, hey, do you want something kind of out of box? Do you want to come up with something super creative? And I think the super creative part is where marketers really lean in, because they can spend their hours with thinking about creativity. And then we spend our hours sourcing it, getting it into the warehouse, kitting it, shipping it. And so they're not spending hours and hours. We do all the tracking behind the scenes through software. We can say, hey, sales reps, you get to send this on behalf of marketing, and that's all automated through software. So when it comes to what you can send, there's themed based things. Like we had some really cool items sent for March Madness in football, where people are in basketball, where people are sending things out based on people's college alma maters. There's people that are focused around different trends that are happening around the world. There's then just like creative individuals. Like there's a send where someone sent like a customized advent calendar over the holidays, which was cool. Or they sent this like packet of seeds, and then a week later they sent a watering can, and a week later they sent some cutting shears. And so it was like a 3-part gift. Or we see people sending these like mini Lego figures that they customize like a Lego kit. Or someone sending these really cool glasses where you can like see it with when you put on the glasses, you can see this image on this paper, but you can't see it without the glasses. So it creates this interactivity. So really there's just like an unlimited spectrum of what you can send. And it really becomes around, how do you use this as just a creative mechanism to grab the attention or to thank somebody, or as a means of communication outside of just the normal kind of email tendencies that most marketers have today.
So it's the physical, it's unleashing the creativity.
Exactly.
Looking at whether it's an item or it's more experiential in terms of the intent and the utilization of it, right? So, and obviously there's so much more you can look at in terms of how you do that, and to the extent that you can also put in strategic messaging. Are there ways that you provide that variable data input?
Exactly. The handwritten note or the printed note, or collateral that goes along with it. So you can get your message. And you could also use like the handwritten note as a way to kind of high level, have some messaging that grabs their attention, and then follow that up with a phone call or an email with more in-depth information. And just using it as a kind of a lightweight touch point too.
Yeah. So you can really just find those lightweight touch points, reinforcing a message, a little bit of personalization.
Exactly.
You're weaving it in there. To what extent that, I don't know if you've had to do this, because it just seems to make a lot of sense, but I think from, looking at, some organization that has a lot of like outbound sales development reps, or to invest, in terms of a customer experience investment. Do you have to provide, or do you guys provide a lot of data in terms of showing the lift, right?
We do.
This much more engagement, this much more, outcomes are improved this much more. Is there any high level data that our audience would find interesting when it comes to leveraging a platform like Sendoso?
Yeah, so we have data across all different use cases, whether it's sales or demand gen or field marketing or customer marketing. So we have a resources section on our website on sendoso.com that you can go look at like how companies are using it, what are the results they're seeing. So the nice thing is that with our platform and software, we integrate into your CRM or your marketing automation tools, so we can connect the dots for you. So you're doing less kind of manual tracking, and we can show campaign tracking and other ways to show the results of how much you spend and the ROI on it. And that was a big part of the software play, because people are sending things out. I bet most listeners, they've sent things out in the past themselves. They know their team is, but oftentimes it's siloed, it's ad hoc. It's not an operationalized process, so they can't do it repeatable in a streamlined fashion, but they wish they could. And so, it's not so being able to kind of use software to modernize this process is just helpful in showing the results, so that you can spend more and use this channel even more effectively.
This is exciting. I want to go into some of the, making the sausage here at Industrial.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about something we're working on right now. And I think this is just for our audience. I think what I'm getting into here is the customer's experience. So you have a customer, you've worked your tail off to get them. Arguably, according to data out there, it's 5 to 7 times less expensive to organically grow your business, from an existing customer than it is to create a net new one. And so customers' journey and their experience counts.
Yep.
Retention, reducing rescission rates, you name it. You can look at, there's a big skilled labor gap in manufacturing across the supply chain. What can you do to drive, even your team engagement and retention, right? That's
everything.
I mean, this thing is amazing. So, and honestly, you lose people, you lose customers, not often based on logic, but how they're made to feel. And it really seems to me there's a huge opportunity. So when it comes to the experiential side, are these use cases you're seeing a lot? The team engagement.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We HR teams, people teams love us for that reason, because it's you've invested in this workforce that a lot of it are still maybe hybrid or fully remote, and how do you keep them engaged? How do you make them feel part of the team? So that use case is even more important during COVID that we saw, where people were using us for new hire welcome kits or gifts for anniversaries, birthdays, and just life moments, or simply just like, hey, it's summertime, here's a nice little summer gift, take this as appreciation. So I think it's more than ever important to appreciate your employees, and we can help with that too.
Kris, I would imagine you have a massive opportunity in the segment.
Yeah,
skilled labor, just the labor gap period,
yeah,
is so massive, and reducing churn is such a huge issue. And you think, oh, how big of a deal would this be? Those moments count. Up to a quarter of our business as an agency has been at times related to recruitment marketing, employer value proposition, employer branding, really messaging around how you're going to create a great place to work, but how you're going to do the marketing sciences to engage, attract, retain folks. And it's massive opportunity. I mean, it's huge.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we see that and the opportunity to be thoughtful, and the other thing is recognition programs.
Yeah.
How many folks are really good at recognizing people? I mean, that's got to be a great use case for y'all.
Yeah, recognizing people. And I think it's not just employees, but also recognizing your customer advocates, your referrals, your partners. And so I think it extends beyond what people think of, like, oh, I'll recognize some employees, but really creating a way that you can meaningfully thank customer references, customer referrals, and we can really help with that too. And again, it's just streamlining it so it takes 1 minute versus 20 minutes, so you get time back in your day to focus on important initiatives other than like running a little mini post office at your house or at your office. So
I love it. We just show, we've been talking about y'all to the whole team, and we love the platform. And I'll get into our personal case. I usually don't like to do this, but I think it's important, and I hope my team is listening. For our industrial agency group, the industrial, it's a services organization, and I think every business really is a services organization. Manufacturers, distributors, you name it, marketing, tech, software. And for us, we have a vision to be the best, better than the rest, as perceived, meaning felt by our team, clients, peers, and partners. Be the best agency, the best service or services. And so the way I see technologies and platforms like Sendoso as as being very, very helpful in that goal. And so what we are working on is the first stage of the client experience, and we do this from time to time. We do it to ourselves. And I think I think anyone listening, you're thinking about this same thing. What is the client's experience? And from that first touch point, how do you say hello?
Yeah.
How do you recognize them? How do you really give them the information they need in order to do business with you? How do you show gratitude? And to what extent do you really kind of keep up on their pulses? So what we're looking at is like creating our process to work internally. Again, we like to reimagine it, but we're also thinking about, okay, now once we're done with this, let's write it completely from the client's point of view. So one of the things we're looking at is, okay, let's start doing an intake survey so we can get a formal, like, who else is going to be part of this project? How are we going to do it? What do you like? What's your birthday? And starting to bring in these types of discussions. And it's not just what are we sending them, it's how are we focusing on serving them. And then to the extent that you can match it up with an amazing experience and those really strategic touch points, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. So as you look at that, that's our first phase, right? All the way. And then how do you welcome them? Like the welcome kit, right?
Yes.
How do you do the welcome? And then from there, what happens is there's this period where there's handoffs, or introductions, like we like to say, and then new people come in. But, really, I think the way folks look at services companies, it's like, okay, I trusted you. I kind of have a feeling you can do what you said you did. Are you doing it? And do that first like milestone or sprint. We see that as like the end of the first stage, right? That first stage of like went through this journey, said yes to us, and now they've come on board. There's been a good handoff. They feel good about it. There's a client satisfaction survey at the end, and it's really about how they're feeling.
Mhm.
How have you seen experiential type initiatives like that work in terms of really good integrations when you're really attracting, bringing someone on board? And, do you look at it that way to the first stage where you've gotten through that first milestone? Is this just table stakes for you guys now as you see that? Or is that just part of something, or like us, folks like us have to look at all the time and really break down?
Yeah, so I think for us, we preach this and we practice this, and that it's all about the customer journey and how do you map that out to where there's certain milestones that you can create these like really impactful moments that matter, these memorable experiences. And so whether you think about it, strategize on part of the onboarding experience, part of when a new deal is closed, during the handoff, during moments during their life moments or product usage milestone moments. All those things are just touch points that are going to just build better relationships. And the name of the game is like you want to keep that relationship forever and retain that customer. And so how are you doing more of that? And so I think that as you mentioned, companies are seeing the picture much bigger now, instead of just this buyer's journey that, hey, what are we putting all of our effort into this, getting a customer from a prospect to a customer and then stopping? It's, well, what else? What's the next 5, 10, 20 years look like? How do we keep a customer that long? And I think it's important that you can leverage a platform like us to like sprinkle those things in so that, again, you have the ideas, you want to do it. It's hard to do. So let us do the hard work for you so that you can, in some cases, even automate it through your CRM or through marketing automation, where you could put the hard work in up front, which is planning that customer journey, deciding what it is you want to send, and then triggering that off based on data in your systems so that it's repeatable and you can continue to have success with it.
And that's, I've once heard that you can create moments of magic, right?
Yep.
And moments of misery, right? At any touch point, it's an opportunity to create a moment of magic or a moment of misery.
I love that.
And anything in between is forgettable. It's a moment of mediocrity.
Yeah.
Hey, Hey Kris, how you, yeah, how you doing? I'm fine. I'm fine. Fine isn't fine,
Yeah.
and when you really look at that mindset, um, Shep Hyken said this. He's a really noted speaker, and he basically said that when you really look at exceptional experience and service, it uses the word always. When it comes to service, they always mindful of us. They
Yeah.
always follow up. They're always remembering those moments that are special to me or those days. They
Yeah.
always commemorate the number of years we've been a client. They always call me back. If it's
Yep.
before noon, if the next day. And I think these experiences and these touch points and these emotional investments are
Yeah.
so key, because that's truly what they are. It's how they're made to feel. And so for us, and our journey is, as perceived by, felt by people, how do you really make them feel like you're doing that? You're not always going to be in moments of magic, but are you going to be in that sweet spot of, like, consistently always being mindful of the customer and how valuable they are, how important the customer is that maybe, or the prospect that may be your customer. And with that said, I have one more thing for you, Kris. So y'all do the Sendoso Sendy Awards.
Yep.
And I know when someone says, hey, after 19 years of industrial and all this stuff you guys have done, what are some of your favorite campaigns? I'm like, I don't even know where to start, like, I'm just like, shuts me down. There's so many things. And so what was your favorite send that you can remember, whether it's one of the, Sendoso Sendy Awards winners or otherwise? What are some of your all-time faves?
Yeah, I mean, the Sendy Awards are true to my heart because it's like brings together one awesome sends with awesome customer experiences, and we're celebrating our customers' success. So one that I remember top of mind, excuse me, is Zendesk did a really fun campaign last year where it was like a movie night in a box kit where you got popcorn, you got like a Netflix card, you got this little blanket, and some candy, and it really thought about the whole family in play, which I think is a really important part of marketing, is knowing what your end buyer or end customer is. And at the moment, a lot of people were at home with their families last year. And so that was a really fun campaign that didn't just target that persona, that one buyer, but that buyer and their family, and had gifts for the whole family. So I thought that was really unique. Gong did this really fun like pinata unicorn program where they sent out these like little unicorn pinatas. And I think that was a really fun way to celebrate. Ultimately, just like things that you kind of, how can you not smile when you receive a pinata? So I think that was really good. And then, yeah, there's so many more. I mean, simple things like Uber Eats gift cards, sending that out the right time can make a big difference. And so you don't have to be crazy creative like this movie theater kid. It's just more of a, can you create a kind of this meaningful experience and send the right thing at the right time with the right message, and have that hit home. But if you want to see other Sendy Awards, we got it on our website. You can see all the different Sendy Awards and also the results for them too. So I think one of the things we would like to pride ourselves off on is sharing the data behind the sending. And so we offer a bunch of that to see like what was the results of these send programs.
Yeah, I was going to ask you the question, what's your favorite piece of swag? I'm not even going to ask, because there's no answer to that. Like,
I know.
what's the one you carry or you keep, right? So I'd love, my son would love a one wheel, like,
Exactly.
so I don't know. You'd have to be a very valuable customer for that one, but
Exactly.
no, that's fantastic. And Kris, when we think about, our audience in the manufacturing sector, they are looking for ways to stand out from the crowd. And I think absolutely Sendoso would be a fantastic platform for them to consider. And with that said, where can folks find out about Sendoso? Where can they reach out to you? And, what's up and what's important next for you guys?
Yeah, so you can find us on our website if you want to look at more information. That's sendoso.com. You can email me directly. And this could be wanting more information on Sendoso or just connecting as an entrepreneur or a founder. And you can connect with me at Kris, it's Kris at sendoso.com, or add me on LinkedIn. And I'm always looking to connect with more people. For us, for what's next, we're just continuing to have a lot of fun and continuing to help our customers be successful. And so for us, it's just more of what we're doing and just continuing to scale the company.
Wow. Kris, so here you are, a person now with a successful company, 700 people strong, and you just gave out
Yep.
your email to everybody.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
fantastic. Now that's a great customer experience. That is absolutely the way to do it. And it's great to see that you're out there. Thank you for doing that. And for the audience, absolutely, we're going to have all of these links in Kris's LinkedIn profile and his email I hope you don't have to
Exactly.
change
Email
it to
me.
go to that
Yep.
last name in the show notes. And so with that being said, Kris, I just want to thank you for being on the Industrial Strength Marketing Show. And for you listening, I hope you just heard one thing about sending and gifting and how people are made to feel and the great experience they have. And how do you make that as part of your business to make marketing even more a strength of your business? So for more insights from industrial marketers, if you'd like to reach out to us, visit us at industrialstrengthmarketing.com. Thank you, Kris, for being on the show.
Thanks, James.
All right. And everybody, we'll catch you next time.